Hey gang, do you like annoying theme songs? Well, here you go.
He got into vintage audio a year ago, but there's a lot of things he still doesn't know, so he started up a channel on YouTube, and here he is now, the Vintage Newbie.
Hey gang, welcome to another episode of The Vintage Newbie. I'm your host, The Vintage Newbie. If you're new here, welcome aboard. And if you're old here, welcome back. And if you are old here and you're like way old, throwback original old school from back in 2022, you might remember when I used to talk about records on here and say how I got into this stuff back in 1988 when I was a little bitty 14-year-old punk rock skater boy. Well, around that time, not too long after, probably around 1991 or so, my high school girlfriend, her dad, who had a stereo shop in the late 70s or early 80s, something like that, heard that I was into records and was like, hold on a second, I got something for you. And he came back out with a turntable, and he's like, this is a dual turntable. It's like a $500 table. It's got a diamond tip needle. Take care of it. I was like, okay. Because I've been using this little Radio Shack Clarinet 124. It was like an all-in-one thing, record player, double cassette, AM/FM radio with these little speakers that did not sound good. So I usually played my stuff on my stepdad's stereo, which was this rack system. I was pretty freaking about it. And I would listen to my records on that, had these huge speakers, and then I'd record stuff on tapes and listen to them in my car when I got older. But anywho, so he gave me this turntable. It was, I'm almost positive, a dual CS-522. For a while, I thought it was a dual 606 because it looked a lot like it, and I never paid attention to model numbers back then or anything. But then I noticed on the 606 that it was completely manual. It did not have a little automatic start-stop switchy thing on it, which I remembered mine having. So I was like, no, that's not it. And I had that one up until 2005 when Hurricane Katrina came and washed them all away, because I'm from New Orleans. And I went without a turntable until just a couple of years ago, and then I got into all this stuff, and that brings us to where we are now. Now, to where we are yesterday was I found someone on Marketplace not too far away, about a half hour away or so, who was selling a dual CS-522 turntable, just like the one I had when I was a teenage boy. And it looked really cool, and the guy said he hardly ever used it because he got in the CDs not too long afterwards, and he was practically giving it away. It was like really cheap. So I sold my little 8-track player because I had a couple other ones and I wasn't really using it anymore, and I sold another turntable that I had that I was gonna eventually bring back to life. It was one that someone was just giving away for free. It was a dual 1009, which is a lot like this dual 1019. I'd done some work on it, but it had more that I needed to do, and it was stuff I didn't know how to do just yet. So I was like, all right. So I sold it, had enough to get the dual CS-522. And where is it? Well, look, you see I got two turntables stacked right up here, and this is the Realistic Lab 300 that I talked about in a previous episode. And on top here is the dual CS-522. Why do you have it stacked on top of another record player, you might be asking, but you're probably not asking at all, because who gives a shit? Well, I'll tell you. Because this dual CS-522 is not completely functional, but it is in a beautiful cosmetic condition. And I've already got these other two turntables, so I'm not like in any hurry to get it up and running, but it is cool just for like nostalgic factor of something that I got like 35 years ago and had it up until 20 years ago. And the one that I had back then was built like a tank. It never gave me any problems. I never even had to change the stylus on it, even though I used to just clean the stylus by running my finger across the needle, which don't ever do that. All right, well, let's take a walk on over there and look at the functions, and I'll tell you about all the things that do not work with mine that hopefully I can fix one day. Okay? Okay. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the dual CS-522. The dust cover's in pretty good shape. It's got some stuff that needs to be cleaned off, but it's been sitting in storage for, I don't know, like 20 years or so. But the hinges go up nicely, so that's cool. It even had like the little piece of plastic over the center ring there. Now when I got it, this tone arm was not clamped down, so I suspect this thing was kind of bobbing around and possibly hitting the platter, because when I brought it home and did like a mild cleaning and then was just going to test it to see how the stylus was working, it sounded like a dog butt, and not a clean dog butt, a very poopy dog butt. So I'm guessing the needle banged up against some stuff and will need to be replaced. So for that, you have to loosen up this screw on top, and then you can, like, this is the tone arm lift, and it also functions as a release lever, and you slide it back and then pop the whole cartridge out and then pop the stylus off. But it's neat. It's got a neat little stylus guard over it, so you can protect it when not in use, so that if you do travel around with it and you don't have it locked down, it'll at least just kind of bump up against this instead of this and save you from having to get a new stylus. This is a fully automatic turntable, at least normally. This one, not so much. It has some issues with it. When you hit start, it starts to go. It raises up. And then it just really likes that spot, so it hangs out there. Then just goes back down. And also, if you do it manually, which this is the lever up, see to where the arrow's not touching, and then back to where it's down on the record. Like, you can lift it up, you can move it over to the record, and then, you know, you can kind of lower it down, but I'm not going to lower it onto anything, so I don't want to risk damaging the stylus some more, or maybe I will. We'll see. And then you hit stop. It kind of raises up, and it does not return to the tone arm rest. Now that could be this thing called the steer pimple that's underneath there, but I'm not really sure. And also, whenever you're playing it, if you did do it manually and then it got to the end of the record, you can hear it lifting up, wanting to go back. But again, it also does not. So this would be a completely manual turntable if the stylus was working right now, but it's not. So I guess that's something I either have to learn how to fix or get the money to pay someone to fix. Another issue is it's at 33 and 45, and hopefully this will show up, but there are these strobe lights. For 33, if these are standing still, it's set right. At 45, if these are standing still, it's set right. So let's see, we'll get it going, and hopefully this shows up on the camera where these bottom lights are staying still. Oh, geez, it's going backwards. That's another thing. Sometimes this thing spins backwards, which from what I've read, there are 3 capacitors underneath that need to be changed in order to fix that, which involves soldering, which I'm just barely learning to get into. All right, so 33 1/3. These lights are standing still. If you come over here and switch it to 45 RPM, notice it's still just showing these lights as being stationary. So it is not switching from 33 to 45 RPM. You can even look at the speed. I switch it, speed stays the same. Switch it back to 45, still stays the same. Switch it back to 33, still the same. So it plays 33 only. Anywho, so those are the issues that need to be fixed with this. If you have one and you want to see what the features are anyway, because yours didn't come with a manual, here is the anti-skating knob. Well, first here's the counterweight balance, which this one should be set to around 1.5. So I got it right there. There's a 1, there's a 2, there's 1.5 right there. And usually the anti-skate is set to about the same. This one has I forget if this one has a conical or elliptical stylus, but that's what these different symbols are for up here. The round one is a conical stylus, and this elliptical shape one up there is for an elliptical stylus, and so that's what you would set it to. But I think this one actually has a conical stylus, so it should not be set to that. But it didn't matter because it also has a broken stylus that needs to be fixed anyway. But whenever I get the correct one, if I get an elliptical stylus, then I'll just keep it at that setting because that's what it should be. So yeah, it's a project that hopefully I will learn to fix, or hopefully I will get the money to pay someone to fix, or hopefully I can do a mixture of both and have somebody show me how to fix it, because a friend of mine's dad does some stereo stuff, so hopefully he is into duals, because I know duals are a bit different from regular turntables sometimes. So that is all I got to say about that. This was definitely just a nostalgic piece for me. If I could get it up and running, that would be awesome. Well, it kind of looks like the Lab 300 as far as the body goes. I think it's like a particle board, possibly even plastic for the base. It's not very heavy, but like I said, I just remember having this thing as a teenager, 20-year-old, up until I was 30, and it ran like a freaking tank. So hopefully this one will be just as good as the one I had. Well, that concludes the demonstration, the features, and the walk down memory lane for me in the dual CS-522. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And if you already know something about how to fix those things, let me know in the comments below, because I read them. Sometimes. Mostly. Unless I forget to respond. But that's just me, because if I don't do something in like the first 5 seconds, I forget. Because thanks for watching. Smell you later.